Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker of the day, Ms. Lia Gouveia, with the Transformation Begins in Self-Discovery. Ms. Gouveia is an active member of the Spiritist Society of North Beach since its incorporation in 2009, simultaneously serving as Program Director, Communications Director, and Vice President. Ms. Gouveia holds a Bachelor in Computer Sciences and is working as a Senior Enterprise Applications Manager in the food industry. Please join us in welcoming Ms. Gouveia.
Okay. Let me start saying that I feel very honored and happy to be here among dear friends, friends that I have been known for a few years in this lifetime, but spirits that for sure we have lived multiple lives before, and we encounter again to fulfill a very beautiful task, which is really to talk about the messages of the spirits. These messages that are so dear to our hearts because we need hope, we need consolation, and we need to be united and working together for the purpose of this dissemination. Today is a very beautiful day, not just because it's sunny outside, but because we have people here from 4 different spiritist centers of Maryland working together, for the same purpose, the unification and dissemination of Spiritism. It's not an easy task, because we are invited to really work together, to face our differences, to be patient and tolerant with one another. But together we realize that we can do more, we can be stronger. And we are having the 4th Spiritist Symposium of Maryland. So we are repeating over and over again because we do need, to educate our hearts, educate our minds, and then spread these messages to the ones in need from both realms of life. So the subject of this year is the transformation power within. This power that we all have as spirits, as immortal spirits, to transform, to transcend, to become better. And by becoming better, we can also help others to become better. So it's a very important task. And I would like to say that even though I'm the one here in front of you, your participation is really very, very important because we are here building a big puzzle and each piece is important. Otherwise, this puzzle will not be complete. So we count on your active participation, not only with questions, with comments, but with your good hearts, with your thoughts, with your good vibes and energy. So I can deliver here what I have compiled from the spirits and do not, change the content, the beautiful content due to my own limitations. So it's interesting that different speakers, without being together, put together presentations with a symbol of a butterfly, which it's very tiny creatures that can actually teach us so much. Because if you are familiar with the different phases of a butterfly, they really need time and effort to transform, to undergo a metamorphosis. And when you look this picture, this image here, what do you see? We see beauty, we see power, we see perfection, we see growth, and this is what we would like to represent and symbolize in our study today. So then we continue with the butterfly symbol and image, because image can tell us things that sometimes our words cannot say, So the topic we are going to discuss is transformation begins in self-discovery. And here we have put a timeline, time and effort, and self-discovery in the beginning and transformation at the end. So if we make analogy between the butterfly and ourselves is very similar. So we can really learn with this small but very beautiful creature. Yes, when we are a small caterpillar, we need to get to know ourselves. We need to know who we are, what our potential to become better, and then we need to go different phases of our evolutionary path in order to transform, in order to become beautiful, perfect, and have a purpose. And if we look deeper, we can actually think about our different life experiences, our lifetimes, and there are lives that is going to maybe not look so beautiful, but we know that there is a potential in us to become beautiful. So the invitation is for us, each one of us, to identify not only what we need to transform, but for the better, but also what we have already inside of us, that it is already accomplished, that we can share with others. So we start asking, who are we? And we learn through Spiritism that we are much more than a physical body. So the person that you see here is just the body that I am using right now. It's a garment. It is my cocoon, if you make analogy with the butterfly. It's just a very superficial part of myself that you see, but I am much more than this personality. I'm much more than my ego. I am a spirit. And as a spirit, I have a divine seed inside of me to transform, to improve, to become perfect. Like the same analogy with the butterfly. So the same way that when the little caterpillar knows what to do in order to improve, we also know what to do in order to improve. But it requires time and effort. We need to do our part in order to be transformed. So if we are spirits and we have a divine seed, a spiritual essence, we need to live as divine beings. We need to live as spirits and not live, as we are only a physical body, because the physical body, which is material, it changes with time, and we are going to lose as we age, as we become sick, as we die. But the beautiful message of Spiritism tells us that we actually do not die. Our physical body stays here, is recycled, but we keep living. And if we keep living, we keep progressing, we keep loving. Therefore, our loved ones are not lost. They are connected to us, just in a different dimension. They went back to their old house, spiritual house, because we actually do not belong to this world. We belong to the world of the spirits, because we are spirits. So here, I will not have time to go very much into details, but what I would like to tell us, do not forget that you are an immortal being, that you do not die, that no one dies, that you are much more than your physical appearance, the personality you are living now, and you have inside of you the divine potential to become beautiful and perfect one day. I went too fast. So I have mentioned that the process of self-knowledge and self-transformation is not only to make better our current state, but also to recognize what we already have in us, what type of talents or gifts we have. So I'd like to start with this quote by the famous Spanish painter, Pablo Picasso, who once said, "The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away." So we all have gifts in us that we already accomplished, that we already developed. But as a gift is something that we need to offer to others. is not to just keep for us. And each one of us here has a different type of talent, different gifts, because we are different. And diversity is part of our humanity. You know, everyone is different and perfect in essence. Okay? So let's share your gifts. And also like to bring this message by the spirit Joana de Angelis through the mediumship of Divaldo Franco in this book, Self-Discover, An Inner Search. And she tells us, without a spiritual view on the physical existence, life itself would remain without sense of meaning. If you want to have a purpose in life, a meaningful life, we need to focus in our spirit, in us is spirit, and not in our material side. We are spiritual beings living a material experience, a material existence, but we are not the shell. We are not the garment. We are not the personality that we see. Therefore, we are much deeper inside of us, and we need to search for it. So the process of self-discovery, it is an inner search. It requires time, it requires effort. Okay? So when we talk about sharing our gifts, sharing our talents, we relate to Jesus' teachings, and on this, what we call as the parable of the talents, explained on the Gospel of Matthew. And the parable tells us the importance of not hide our talents, but share with others. And if you share with others, you are going to have a purpose in life. You are not going to have a life without meaning. You're not going to feel empty. Okay? And I'm going to bring this message by this spirit, Jean, who communicated in Bordeaux, France, on the year 1861, but which tells us so much about this parable of the talents and the importance of sharing our gifts. He tells us, all of you who can produce something, give, and who cannot produce something, right, dear friends? Give off your talents, give off your inspirations, give off your hearts, which God will bless. So discover inside of you your talents, your inspirations, when you say your hearts, what type of feelings that you already conquered that you can share with others? Maybe it's your smile, maybe it's your sympathy, your empathy, maybe it's a kindness, you know, maybe it's your intelligence, maybe it's your artistic talent, something that is unique to you, okay? And he continues here. May your intelligence also come to aid your brothers and sisters. So intelligence is also talent to be used for the good, not to destroy, but to construct, to build. All of you can give, whatever may be your social status, you have something you can share, which is clear that sharing talents is not only sharing material possessions, but is sharing really what is inside of us, spirits, that we can give to one another. Whatever God may have given you, you owe part of it to those who lack what's necessary. So sharing our talents is not only a need, but it is our responsibility to share with one another. Okay, if we have, received much more than we need to share with others. Okay, we cannot just hide our talents like we see on the parable. Okay, and now we are going to enter exactly on the subject of our study, which is to get to know ourselves. And the Spirit's book has many questions that can help us, but this one is very famous on this process. So here we have Allan Kardec, and here we have Socrates on this beautiful sculpture one of the ancient philosophers of Greece. And on this question, we hear, what is the most effective means for improving ourselves in this life and for resisting the draw of evil or temptation? So Kardec asked it when he compiled these questions to the superior spirits, and the answer was clear to us. A sage, one of the sage men of Greece, Socrates here, of antiquity has told you, know thyself, because if we know ourselves, we are going to really identify, what is inside of us that we still need to improve, what are our weaknesses, what are our temptations. And temptations is exactly our imperfections, right? It's things that we do over and over again, not because we are evil, but because we have been doing for so long that is automatic. So if, let's say, Lia, as a spirit, have been aggressive and violent over and over again, it's just difficult for me to become peaceful. But I need to be open and exercise and maybe find ways to put my aggressive side in something that is going to help me become more peaceful. So the process, it's slow, but it is possible to do, okay? And the same Socrates said, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. He famously declared that the unexamined life was not worth living. We cannot live a life without examining, without really thinking about it. What can I do better? How can I improve myself? And here we have someone, that is known to us as Saint Augustine, who left us a legacy and tell us a recipe how to get to know ourselves. So let's follow St. Augustine. He, during his lifetime, he was able to go an inner transformation, so he can tell us how to do. Let's read together. At the end of each day, I examined my conscience, reviewed what I had done, and asked myself whether or not I had failed to fulfill some duty, and whether or not anyone might have had reason to complain about me. So one time a day, we can all do, examine our conscience. Ask yourself, during this day, did I really fulfill all my duties? Did I hurt people? Or if we consider ourselves to be followers of Jesus Christ, are we really Christians in our behavior? Are we really doing the best we can do? So this is part of the process of knowing ourselves. And he continues here. Those who every night would recall their actions during the day and would ask themselves what good or evil they have done, praying to God and their guardian angel to enlighten them, would acquire great strength for self-improvement, because, believe me, God will assist them. So, not only a self-reflection and a conscience examination, but ask through prayer to our guardian angels, to our mentors, to the spirits that are surrounding us, to enlighten us to do better on the next day. Every day it's a new opportunity to do better. St. Augustine tells us here. Therefore, ask yourselves about what you have done and towards what aim you acted in a particular circumstance, whether you have done anything that would blame others, and whether you have done anything that you do not dare profess. So if I have things that I feel ashamed, that I want to hide, is because I'm not doing really a good job. So therefore, self-knowledge is the key to individual improvement. We must study, but we must acquire knowledge. But acquiring knowledge without putting in practice, it does not really help us much. More we know, more responsible we become for our actions. Therefore, we need to put into practice. Is it easy? It's not, but it's why we are here today. Okay? So St. Augustine keeps telling us, and I'm sorry if it's a lot, but I think it's very important to share that with you. I'm just going to put all here, and then we can read through. And I have highlighted how many times he tells us about examine your conscience, examine what you may have done against God, or the divine laws, or every living creature. Examine what you have done to your neighbor. And who is your neighbor? It's people that are around you. It's your family members. It's your co-workers. It's your friends. And lastly, against yourselves, because we do hurt ourselves as well. We do punish ourselves as well, due to guilt feelings. So he keeps here saying, the answers will be either repose for your conscience or an indication of a wrong that you must amend. Ask how you would judge if it had been done by someone else. Seek to know what others think about you, and do not neglect the opinion of your enemies, because they have no interest in disguising the truth. It is not really our enemies, our adversaries, people that do not like us, that really point fingers to us and highlight our imperfections. So we should actually thank them to do that, so we can really sincerely change. Let those who are truly willing to improve themselves examine their own conscience in order to uproot from it their evil tendencies. What is evil tendencies? It's really our imperfections. It's our mistakes. It's not that we are bad. It's just that we are not able to fulfill the divine laws yet. And why, I ask myself, why St. Augustine mentioned over and over again about examining our conscience? And it is on this question, on the Spirit's book. Why? Because it's where God's laws are written. So when we are created and we have the divine mark in us, we also have in our conscience everything that we need to do in our lives. It is there, but we need to reach to our conscience. Some people still have the conscience that is in sleep mode. So we need to wake up and we need to listen. So Kardec wisely asked, since humans carry God's law in their conscience, why does it need to have been revealed to them? Are you familiar with this character? So maybe some people from my generation here, this is Pinocchio, and he was a boy made of wood who wanted to be a real boy, right? And he had a cricket that was very annoying to him, which was representing his conscience. And what he was doing, he was always pushing his friend away because he didn't want to listen. Okay? It's not exactly what we do. And here the spirits are telling us, either we forgot or we disregard. We don't want to listen. But God insistently wants to remind us, because perfection, beauty, happiness is our destination. So we can postpone, but we cannot avoid our progress, okay? It is in our divine DNA. It's imprinted in us. Next question. What's the basis of justice found in the divine natural law? Question at 876. Christ has told you, do unto others whatsoever you would have them do unto you. We all know this golden rule. Why is it so hard to follow, really? God has placed in the human heart the rule of all true justice through the desire that all have to see their rights respected. We all want our rights to be respected, but who wants to really comply with the duties, with the responsibilities, So if we want justice, we need to be just with others as well. If you are uncertain of what you should do for your neighbor in any given circumstance, ask yourself, what you would want your neighbor to do in a similar situation. God could not give you a safer guide than your own conscience. So it's all there, dear friends. But we need to listen, okay? We need to embrace change, okay? Is it a easy process? It's not. And I brought this image. I like images very much because I think it tells us more than words sometimes. And here it's another analogy. I had compared ourselves with the butterfly, now I'm comparing us with an onion. So what we see is only the shell, our current personality, our current life. But in reality, we have many, many layers of different lives, different experiences inside of us. So to get to know ourselves is much more than staying on this superficial part. We need to go deeper. And apologize, I'm going faster. I think I have a lot to cover in a short period of time. So be patient with me here. I will try to go faster. So we learned that self-discovery and personal transformation are journeys that require patience, determination, and a willingness to embrace change. It requires self-observation, self-analysis, introspection, and solitude. We need to dedicate time to really meditate about ourselves, to get to know ourselves. It's not an easy process. Self-knowledge refers to knowledge of one's own mental, emotional states, process, and disposition. So we are complex beings. We are more than a biological body. We need to also know our emotions, our feelings, our minds, our spirits. So it is an ongoing process to really get to know ourselves. It's not something we can do in one lifetime, but we must start now and do our part. You know, we do not need only to do psychotherapy. We can do our own self-observation and self-analysis, as St. Augustine tells us to do. And I'm not going to bring Joanna de Angelis here, you know, and we know she's scary, she's profound. I'm just going to present her to you, you know, because she has a whole book dedicated to self-discovery, you know, and let me put all this. Again, I just brought 2 slides, and she's saying that the process of self-discovery, if we embrace or not, is going to come to our way because it's part of our evolutionary process. Either because we are going to feel we are not in a state of harmony and we are going to look for solutions, or for a need to grow, okay? So I'm not going into detail here, but we need to study Joanna de Angelis as well with other books of the codification. So the codification is the basis of Spiritism, is the foundation. But after we are familiar with the foundation, we must study other books so this can complement our knowledge, because they keep sending us more and more revelations to our growth, okay? So let me put here, there are 16 books comprise what they call the psychological series of Joanna de Angelis. Some are already in the English language, okay? But most of you who speaks Portuguese, you can read the originals, you can study. There are psychologists actually studying the books of Joanna de Angelis, the same way there are physicians studying the books of André Luiz. So there is a lot of knowledge for us, okay? And Joanna says that in our current state of evolution, it's normal that we have conflicts, which is exactly the difference between what she calls ego and self, what we want to be, okay, and the one that we still are. So in a very simple way, because I'm not a psychologist here, the ego is just the surface of our current personality, is what we see that we are conscious about ourselves, while the self, the spirit, is the layers of the onions, that's very profound, and this is unconscious in our mind. So there is a lot for us to discover on this process of self-discovery. For the people that do not speak Portuguese, the United States Spiritist Federation has a weekly podcast in psychology and spirituality, exactly to help us understand a little bit more about the works of Joana de Angelis. It is possible, according to Joana, that we are going to achieve well-being, and fullness, and discover about ourselves. I don't think I have time to go in details here, but we can, during the question and answers, go deeper on that. I have still a lot of material to share, but I will go very quickly here. So, while we are not perfect butterflies yet, we can combine it, do better, and be more perfect. According to Socrates, the perfect human being is all human beings put together. It is a collective. It is all of us together that make perfection. So the invitation is get to know yourself, see what is already good on you, share with others, and what is not so good, be open to transform. So one day you are going to reach this perfection. And for now, let's remind one another that moral persons are kind, human, and benevolent towards all, without any kind of prejudice, because in essence, we are brothers and sisters, because we are children of the same God. How to reach this perfection? And I have to say, thank you here, Cynthia, who actually gave me the whole guide to compile this presentation. And you made me think a lot about this passage from Jesus saying, be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect. Because we learn that absolute perfection, what did I do? I got excited. Okay, thank you. You see, I need someone here smarter, more handsome, to help me. I think I could stay here an hour or two with you, but we have a lot to cover. Okay, so let me go back there. We learn that the absolute perfection only our Creator can have. Only God possesses infinite perfection in all things. But as humans, we can reach a relative perfection. Okay? But why Jesus compared the perfection with God and not, with himself? He was humble. He never said, I am God. He said, I'm a teacher. I'm here to share lessons with you. But he gave us God as a model. So he limited himself to presenting to us a model. How long I have? Okay, so I guess I should stop here, or okay, I will just then quickly to reach this perfection. There is a degradation. There is a gradation of love. Okay, so we start by tolerating one another, and as we evolve, we are going to reach this perfection, which is to love even our enemies. Okay? I will not be able to talk about pride and selfishness. I think this is something that Cynthia is going to cover, because definitely this can really be a big block for moral transformation. And the last one that I want to give to you is this message, an invitation from our Master Jesus, and from the high spirits, to really be open to fraternity, to charity, to love one another without any type of prejudices. And this journey of self-transformation, it's something that we all need to go through in order to become better souls. I would like to thank you very much for your time, for your attention, and apologies if I have too much to share or if I talk too much. Thank you so much.